Given a brief explanation of the charges, the judge also told them that the defendant is presumed innocent until proven guilty. That defendant, of course, Sean Diddy Combs, walked.
The courtroom was packed beyond capacity. Journalists, influencers, legal analysts, and even a few celebrities sat shoulder to shoulder. Outside, helicopters hovered in the sky like vultures circling prey. Everyone knew this wasn't just another celebrity case. This was the case that could shatter the entire music industry's polished facade. Diddy, dressed in a tailored black suit with a crimson pocket square, as if he anticipated a bloodbath, sat stone-faced at the defense table. His legal team, a squad of high-powered attorneys with million-dollar smiles, whispered furiously among themselves. But even their bravado couldn't hide the undercurrent of panic. Judge Helen Morales entered, her black robe swishing like a silent warning. A woman known for her no-nonsense rulings, she had built her career tearing down the powerful when they thought they were untouchable. And today, all eyes were on her. "The court is now in session," the bailiff announced. Reporters scrambled to type live updates. Social media was already ablaze. Diddy trial trended worldwide before the judge even opened her mouth. Judge Morales adjusted her glasses and scanned the crowd, her gaze piercing like a scalpel. "We have received newly submitted evidence," she began, her voice calm but loaded with electricity. "The nature of this evidence changes the trajectory of this trial, and possibly the careers of multiple high-profile individuals." A gasp rippled through the room. Diddy's lead attorney, Charles Whitman, immediately stood. "Your Honor, we must protest. This evidence was not disclosed during discovery." "Sit down, Mr. Whitman," Morales snapped. "This evidence was sealed under federal protection. Only after a separate investigation concluded last night was it deemed admissible." Now the tension was unbearable. Everyone leaned forward. Phones were clutched like lifelines. The judge nodded to the bailiff, who wheeled in a secure black case about the size of a mini fridge. On it was stamped DOJ Confidential. A technician entered, unlocked the case, and pulled out a stack of hard drives and a thick folder. "Your Honor, may we have a recess to review?" Whitman tried again. "No. The public has a right to transparency in this matter." The technician connected one of the drives to the courtroom's large monitor. The screen flickered. Then an audio file began to play. A voice, unmistakably Diddy's, spoke in hushed, urgent tones. "If they find out what really happened that night, it's over. I don't care how much it costs. Shut them up, pay them off, or make them disappear." The room erupted into chaos. Reporters screamed into their phones. A woman fainted. Diddy's mother, seated behind him, burst into tears. But it didn't stop there. Another clip played. A video, grainy footage of what appeared to be a private yacht party. A blurred figure was arguing with Diddy. "You promised nobody would get hurt," the figure shouted. "I promised money, not safety," Diddy replied coldly. Judge Morales banged her gavel. "Order! Order in the court!" Whitman slumped into his chair, face pale as chalk. Diddy gripped the edge of the table, his knuckles. White Judge Morales looked directly at him. "Mr. Combs, can you explain this footage?" Silence. The judge didn't wait for an answer. Effective immediately, the court is unsealing all associated files. Further, an arrest warrant will be issued for possible witness tampering, conspiracy, and obstruction of justice. It was more than a bombshell. It was nuclear. The courtroom was in pandemonium. Reporters rushed out the doors, desperate to be the first to push breaking alerts to their networks. Social media had already exploded. Diddy trial wasn't just trending anymore. It was dominating headlines across the globe. Hip-hop mogul caught on tape. Criminal conspiracy alleged. Empire on the brink. Diddy didn't flinch, or at least, he tried not to. But the tightness around his jaw and the flicker of panic in his eyes betrayed him. His legal team huddled like cornered prey. Charles Whitman whispered something in his client's ear, but Diddy waved him off. Across the aisle, Assistant U.S. Attorney Monica Reyes stood, eyes gleaming with quiet triumph. She had spent years circling this case like a shark waiting for blood in the water. Now the blood was everywhere. "Your Honor," she began smoothly, "the prosecution moves to introduce supplementary evidence acquired through court-approved wiretaps and testimonies from 3 confidential informants." Judge Morales nodded without hesitation. "Proceed." The technician queued up another video. This time, it was a deposition recording. The witness sat in shadows, face blurred. "I worked security at several of Mr. Combs's private events," the distorted voice said. "I saw envelopes of cash exchanged with known gang enforcers, people who later went missing. Anyone who tried to expose it? Silenced. Or paid off." The audience was riveted, breathless. "And do you have direct knowledge of any criminal acts involving Mr. Combs?" Reyes asked in the video. The witness hesitated. "Yes, the night of the yacht party. A woman was assaulted. Cameras were disabled, but Mr. Combs gave the order. I heard him." Gasps again, the kind that sucked all the air out of the room. At the defense table, Whitman looked like he might vomit. This wasn't just a scandal anymore. This was RICO-level criminal enterprise material. If the prosecution could prove an organized pattern of illegal behavior, Diddy was facing not just prison, but the total annihilation of his legacy. Reyes wasn't done. "Your Honor, the prosecution also submits forensic accounting records, tracing millions in offshore accounts used for hush money payments. These accounts are connected to shell corporations registered under aliases tied to Mr. Combs and his close associates." The monitor now displayed complex charts of money laundering trails. It was a web, and at the center, Diddy. Judge Morales leaned back, her expression unreadable. "The evidence presented thus far is sufficient to warrant continuation of the trial under criminal conspiracy and racketeering statutes. Mr. Combs, do you understand the severity of these charges?" Diddy's mouth opened, but no words came out. Reyes spoke again. "Furthermore, Your Honor, based on new testimony, we believe there is credible evidence that members of law enforcement and industry executives may have participated in the cover-up." That set off a new wave of hysteria in the gallery. Cameramen nearly trampled each other to capture the moment. Even Judge Morales's eyes narrowed slightly. Corruption inside the police and entertainment hierarchy? This was bigger than anyone had imagined. As the judge ordered a recess, Diddy was escorted to a private holding room. His team followed, their faces grim. But outside, the real storm was brewing. Protesters gathered, some defending the mogul as a victim of a witch hunt, others demanding justice for the unknown victims now coming to light. Former collaborators, producers, artists, and executives started releasing statements, either distancing themselves or subtly throwing him under the bus. Among them was a name nobody expected, Sean Jay-Z Carter. A cryptic post had just appeared on his verified social media. "Sometimes the empire has to burn before the truth rises." The court was no longer just a stage for one man's downfall. It was the beginning of a reckoning. The holding room was silent, except for the faint hum of the overhead lights. Diddy sat at a cold metal table, hands folded, eyes staring into nothingness. His lawyers were talking, panicking actually, but he heard none of it. The world he'd built over 3 decades was crumbling, piece by piece, and there wasn't a damn thing he could do to stop it. His phone had been confiscated, but that didn't matter. He already knew the headlines, knew the betrayal was spreading like wildfire. Sometimes the empire has to burn before the truth rises. Jay-Z's message was like a dagger between the ribs. Of all people, him? They'd built this industry together. They'd covered each other's backs when things got messy. Now Jay was jumping ship. No, lighting the ship on fire while Diddy was still on it. A guard opened the door. "Mr. Combs, you have a visitor." Diddy looked up, confused. "My lawyers are already here." "Not them." Before he could protest, a tall woman entered, black suit, no nonsense. She flashed a badge, FBI Special Agent Kira Holt. "Your team has been advised not to interfere," she said calmly, pulling up a chair. "We need to talk, alone." Whitman and the rest tried to object, but the guard signaled for them to leave. Reluctantly, they exited, shooting daggers at Agent Holt. She leaned in, lowering her voice. "You've got bigger problems than Reyes or the judge, Mr. Combs. Much bigger." Diddy stayed silent. "You think this trial is just about your crimes?" she continued. "It's not. Someone inside your circle has flipped, and they're not just feeding Reyes information, they're feeding us." His stomach turned. "You had a lieutenant," she said. "A man named Xavier X. Price. Ran logistics, security, handled your, let's call them sensitive operations." Diddy's breath caught in his throat. "He's been in protective custody for 6 months. Federal immunity deal. He's been feeding us evidence. And guess what?" She slid a flash drive across the table. "There's a leak. These files, they're already out there. Journalists, activists, every law enforcement agency in the country." Diddy's fingers twitched toward the flash drive, but he stopped himself. "Why tell me?" "Because you're not walking out of this. That's obvious. But someone is trying to make sure you don't survive long enough to testify." Holt's gaze hardened. "Your own people have a price on your head. If you think prison will protect you, think again." For the first time that day, Diddy felt the full weight of his situation. It wasn't about saving his career anymore. It wasn't even about avoiding prison. It was about staying alive. Outside the courtroom, another drama was unfolding. The leaked files Agent Holt warned about were already making waves. Names, dates, payments, allegations of trafficking, assault, bribery. Not just Diddy, but other moguls, executives, politicians, even police officers. One file was labeled Project Silence. It detailed a covert operation to blackmail and eliminate anyone who threatened the empire. Some names were already crossed out. Others were still alive. Social media turned into a battlefield. Fans, haters, conspiracy theorists, victims' families, everyone had an opinion, and most of them were dangerous. If these files are real, hip-hop is finished. Justice for the victims! Cancel Diddy isn't enough. We want the whole system to burn. And then came the biggest shock. A woman named Kendra Blake, former assistant to Diddy's management team, scheduled a live interview with 60 Minutes. She promised to reveal everything. She was on the Project Silence list, and she wasn't dead yet. The world held its breath. Kendra Blake's 60 Minutes interview was scheduled for 8 p.m. Eastern. By 7:30, viewership numbers had already shattered records. Every TV in America seemed locked to the same channel. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all buzzing with theories, leaked teasers, and speculation. Diddy, still in holding, wasn't allowed to watch it. But he didn't need to. He knew what she was going to say, or at least he thought he did. When the cameras went live, Kendra sat calmly, wearing a simple black dress. No makeup, no glitz, just raw, unfiltered honesty. "I stayed quiet for years," she began, her voice shaking but steady. "Because speaking up meant death. Not just for me, for my family, my friends." The interviewer, veteran journalist Marcus Wren, nodded gently. "Tell us what happened." Kendra took a deep breath. "I was hired as an executive assistant. It was supposed to be a dream job. Parties, power, fame. But that dream became a nightmare." She leaned forward. "I saw cash payments to gangs. I saw women drugged at parties, celebrities and executives turning a blind eye, or worse, joining. And I witnessed the creation of Project Silence firsthand." The audience was dead silent. The goal was simple: protect the empire at all costs. Anyone who threatened it, journalists, ex-girlfriends, even family members, were either paid off or taken care of. Marcus frowned. By taken. Care of, you mean? Disappearances, murders dressed up as accidents, suicides that weren't suicides, and not just by Diddy's order. He had lieutenants, people who wanted to impress him. They went further than he ever said out loud. The screen flashed images from the leaked files, victims' faces, police reports that were buried, payoffs disguised as charity donations, offshore accounts, in the Caymans. Kendra's eyes glistened with tears. I tried to quit. They told me I was family, and family doesn't leave. Marcus leaned in. Why come forward now? She looked directly into the camera. Because I'm already marked. My name was on that list. If I'm going to die, I want the truth out first. The room gasped, but then came the twist nobody expected. There's more, she said. Project Silence didn't end when Diddy was arrested. It's still active. The man running it now? Not Diddy. It's someone who betrayed him, someone who was supposed to protect us all. A pause. The tension was unbearable. Andre Castle, his former security chief. Social media detonated. Andre Castle had been seen as Diddy's most loyal enforcer, his shadow. But now, he was being named as the architect behind ongoing cover-ups, threats, and even attempts to kill key witnesses. In fact, just before the interview, a news alert flashed. Breaking. FBI confirms assassination attempt against Kendra Blake. Foiled. Suspect in custody linked to Andre Castle. It wasn't just a courtroom drama anymore. This was war. In his holding room, Diddy stood as two federal marshals entered. They looked grim. Mr. Combs, one said, we have to move you, now. Why? He demanded. Your ex-security chief just put a hit out on you. From inside the system. Diddy's empire was collapsing from the outside, but now the knives were out inside too. And the next 48 hours would decide who lived and who didn't. The marshals hurried Diddy through a maze of underground corridors beneath the courthouse. Every few feet, armed agents stood ready, rifles drawn. Whatever protections his money, once bought, were useless now. Andre Castle had operatives everywhere, even inside law enforcement. Where are we going? Diddy barked, breath ragged. Safe house, one marshal answered. But safe is a relative term right now. Above them, news helicopters circled like sharks. Protesters gathered, some demanding justice, others claiming Diddy was being framed. But none of it mattered. If Castle got to him first, public opinion wouldn't mean a damn thing. At the same hour, across the city, FBI Special Agent Kira Holt gathered a task force in a sealed conference room. Castle has activated his kill team, she said, slamming a folder on the table. We have intel on 4 operatives already, en route. Targets, Sean Combs and Kendra Blake. This is no longer about evidence. It's survival. Reyes, the prosecutor, entered, looking exhausted. We also have Castle's offshore accounts. He's pulling funds to flee the country. We either stop him now, or he'll vanish with half the industry's secrets. The team nodded grimly. Then came the unexpected. A tall, imposing figure stepped into the room. Leather jacket, cold eyes, known to every agent present. Jay-Z, I. Want in? He said simply. Holt frowned. You can't be serious. You're a suspect in 3 of these files. Jay-Z shrugged. Castle betrayed me, too. I protected people, paid them off, but murder, that was never part of the code. The room went dead silent. Kira Holt made a snap decision. Fine, but you answered to me. The next 24 hours blurred into chaos. One assassin was intercepted at Kendra Blake's safe house, caught scaling a fire escape. Another was arrested posing as a court officer near Diddy's transport convoy. The other 2 vanished into the night. But the real storm broke when the FBI raided a luxury penthouse in Manhattan. Castle wasn't there. Instead, a chilling video played on a giant monitor. You think this ends with Diddy? You think it ends with me? I built this world. Even if I fall, 10 more will rise. Castle's face disappeared, replaced by a final message. The music industry is just the beginning. Hours later, back in the courthouse, Judge Morales reconvened the court. The trial will resume once all defendants are accounted for. Mr. Combs remains under federal protection as both a defendant and now, regrettably, a key witness in an ongoing conspiracy investigation. The judge paused, her expression dark. This is no longer about one man's guilt. This is about exposing the rot at the core of an industry. Diddy sat silently, no longer a kingpin, no longer a mogul, just a man trying to survive the empire he once ruled. As the courts adjourned, Reyes leaned over to Holt. This isn't over. Holt nodded, not even close. We meet in the next trial.